Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. Season 2 of The Punisher has been shrouded in mystery from the get-go. First announced back in December 2017, it wrapped filming in July of this year, and we didn't get any news about it until December. Netflix has finally let the doors open a smidge with the confirmation that it will hit the service in January 2019, and this morning an article from Collider revealed 30 new details about the story and characters of Season 2. So, of course, I just had to make a video going over everything we know about The Punisher Season 2, now that we, actually know some things. As always, this will be in 3 parts. Who, the cast, characters, and creators. What, the story. And when, the release date, and when we can expect a trailer. So, let's get started. Thanks to Collider's article, we now have a pretty rock-solid understanding of who is and isn't in Season 2 of The Punisher. It features several returning characters from Season 1, as well as a bunch of brand new ones. So obviously we have Frank Castle returning. In this season, it's said he's trying to leave his violent past behind him and find a new purpose in life. But obviously being the Punisher, he finds a new reason to fight. Jason R. Moore's Curtis Hoyle will be returning this season as well, but all we really know is that he'll be butting heads with Frank, likely over his decision to continue being the Punisher. Billy Russo, Frank's arch-nemesis and former friend, will also be returning this season. It's been said he'll be recovering at the start of it, but set photos have shown he'll be back up on his feet before the season is over. It's said that he suffered from some severe brain damage that has made him pretty unhinged, and that his memories have become much more fragmented. Although no one refers to him as Jigsaw in the season, they do refer to his fractured state that way, saying his brain is like a jigsaw puzzle that needs to be put back together. He'll have scars on his face, obviously. It's said the makeup team put a lot of thought into making sure the scars lined up with his injuries in Season 1. Another interesting thing, his accent. In Season 1, he had a pretty typical American accent with some New York embellishes, but it's said that his damaged mind has resulted in his New York accent becoming much thicker, much more akin to his Bensonhurst roots, as Ben Barnes says. This is, of course, a neighborhood in Brooklyn. This is more how I always imagined Jigsaw sounding, so I'm pretty happy about this. Another big returning character, Dinah Madani. It's said she has become laser-focused on Russo, visiting him in the hospital every day, morning and night. In Season 1, she became romantically involved with him, only for him to turn around and kill her partner and friend, Sam. So it makes sense that she'd be a little obsessed with him. Madani apparently won't be doing too well mentally either. The gunshot wound she received from Russo has messed her up in many ways. As her actress Amber Rose Riva states, she's begun to drink and self-medicate and becomes very promiscuous throughout the season. So she's basically taking a page out of the Jessica Jones Handbook for Mental Breakdowns. There are some other returning characters here, both big Daredevil cast members. The first is Karen Page. I didn't expect her to make a comeback, but it does make sense considering how vital she is to Frank. We got no hints as to what kind of role she'll play, only that she is present. And then there's Brett Mahoney, the Hell's Kitchen detective. A Redditor who proved he was an extra on multiple Marvel Netflix productions confirmed that in Season 2, Mahoney would be hunting Frank Castle down. We've got a bunch of interesting new characters. Georgia Wigham will portray Amy Bendix, a runaway teen who becomes involved in whatever it is Frank is fighting in Season 2. Set photos have shown Frank taking her under his wing, with the two spending a lot of time together this season. Amy is on the run. They wouldn't say who was chasing her exactly, but they said that she's gotten herself into trouble and that it has something to do with John Pilgrim. John Pilgrim, played by Josh Stewart, seems to be the main villain of the season, or at least one of the bigger ones. We don't really know much about what he wants, but they have revealed some interesting things about him. He has a dark, violent past. Perhaps he served on the military like Frank did. But he's devoted himself wholly to Christian fundamentalism. Basically, a Christian movement that looked to revise certain beliefs to fit with social and scientific developments. Despite this, he has a deep, dangerous rage inside of him that he tries to keep buried down. Collider described Stewart's performance as very creepy and uptight. So I'm excited to see this character in action. I hope he can turn out to be one of Marvel Netflix's better villains. He's described as being alt-right and very dangerous. Punisher has fought his fair share of corrupt priests. There's nothing in the report saying he's a priest, but I'm thinking he might be. Anyway, an interesting thing they revealed about Bendix is that she refuses to curse at all. This leads me to think that she might be religious, so perhaps Pilgrim was her pastor or something, and he did something that she saw and is on the run because of it. Floriana Lima is playing Krista Dumont, a psychotherapist who specializes in veterans and is treating Russo. She's described as very cut off and emotionally uptight, with her wardrobe reflecting that. We don't know much about her character beyond that, but it's possible she might become an unlikely ally of Billy Russo's. Then there are two other cast additions that aren't mentioned in Collider's article. Corbin Burnson and Annette O'Toole as Anderson and Eliza Schultz, a wealthy, morally corrupt couple who will do anything to retain their status and power. Sounds like they'll be villains of the Season 2, and the fact that Collider doesn't mention them at all means they'll probably have a much bigger role than expected. Alright, now to the creator side of things. Steve Lightfoot is returning as the showrunner, alongside a lot of the same writers. The season will feature the usual 13-episode count, but Jeremy Webb, Jamie M. Dagg, Sally Richardson Whitfield, and Alex Garcia Lopez are the only directors listed on IMDb as of right now. Tyler Bates has returned for the score. Collider interviewed costume designer Lorraine Calvert and production designer Scott Murphy in their piece. Murphy has worked on Daredevil and Luke Cage as well. Collider's report offered some pretty interesting insights into the plot of Season 2. We still don't know a lot of specifics, but we have some very interesting new pieces for the overall puzzle. The season will begin in territory rarely touched by the Marvel Netflix shows, somewhere other than New York. The first episode will follow Frank on a road trip of sorts across America looking for a new beginning, an escape from his time as the Punisher. But as the showrunner reveals, he'll soon find a new reason to fight that will bring him right back to New York City. This is really interesting because it potentially implies that whatever Frank is going up against, they have a huge reach that surpasses the state of New York itself. Another option, though, is that it has something to do with Amy. Perhaps she leaves New York while on the run and Frank gets caught up trying to save her. That would make a lot of sense, too. We don't learn much else about the story beyond it'll follow Frank fully embracing his role as the Punisher, and that it'll be much more of a classic Punisher story, much more street level and gritty than the first season. But at the same time, it'll also have a bit more humor in it, apparently, which sounds a lot more like Garth Ennis's original run. There's also the stuff I mentioned in the first section, John Pilgrim, the Schultzes, and Billy Russo's return, as well as Mahoney hunting Frank down. My guess is that Pilgrim and the Schultzes are involved in some kind of criminal organization or something big, and that Amy sees some kind of crime that she wasn't supposed to. She goes on the run, eventually running into Frank, who she leads back to New York, and he sets out to save her. Him doing this is what sets Mahoney on his trail, and I think Russo will be a bit of a wild card. Once he fully returns, I think he'll either go after Frank entirely on his own, or one of the enemies might try and hire him to take Frank down. Or maybe both. One theory I personally have is that we might see the Trust. This is an organization of people, movie stars, veterans, CEOs, industrialists, etc., who, like Frank, seek to fight crime with methods outside of the law. They're who he went up against in his very first appearance way back in 1986. I don't know how they would fit in with the story details we've been presented, but it's an interesting idea. Alrighty, we know for a fact that The Punisher Season 2 is set to hit Netflix in January. Despite the fact that January is just a smidge over 3 days away, we still don't know exactly what date. However, you guys may remember that I correctly predicted Daredevil Season 3's release date using a simple method, looking at Netflix's original's release schedule and finding a mostly empty date, and figuring it would go there. Logic dictates that they'd set The Punisher for a date that isn't flooded with 20 other Netflix originals, right? So, using that same method, let's see if we can't predict The Punisher's premiere. January 19th and 25th are both pretty packed despite being the usual kind of dates for these shows. They've got shows like The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kingdom, Black Earth Rising, Carmen Sandiego, and much more. So that leaves January 4th and January 11th as the two clearest dates. Considering January 4th is exactly 1 week from this video's uploading, I'm going to say it's not that. So my current bet is that The Punisher Season 2 will arrive on January 11th. That may seem too soon, but I'm willing to bet that that'll be it. They usually like to release reviews a week beforehand, so I think we'll get our first reactions to the season on January 4th. There's still some Netflix originals on that date, but not as many big ones. Whatever the date is, whether it's the 4th or the 25th, I'm fully expecting the trailer and date announcement to come next week in the December 31st to January 4th range. Netflix is known for some pretty out there marketing strategies, but I feel pretty confident they'll want to give The Punisher at least a week or two of build-up. But that's everything we know about Season 2 of The Punisher. If there's anything I've missed, let me know in the comments below. And I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and theories as well. What do you think is happening with Amy Bendix in The Punisher Season 2? Who do you think the Schultzes are? And when do you predict The Punisher will hit Netflix? Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe for more. I've got a big video coming this Monday, December 31st. You won't want to miss it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.